Today, I'll be talking about the anime Isekai Shikkaku by Studio Atelier Pontdarc. After getting isekai mid-suicide attempt, a gloomy writer named Sensei decides he'd much rather find his lost lover and finish the job than save a fantasy world. Instead of following his destiny, he wanders the land with a couple of accidental companions and eventually discovers the so-called heroes of this world might actually be its biggest villains. I'm playing the Attack on Titan tribute game while we dive into my first impressions, the overall vibes, the connections this anime has to other shows I've seen, and more. Let's start with my first thought. So my overall impressions of the show is definitely the aspect of a gloomy main character. It's not often seen in anime, and I kind of enjoyed the contrast the gloomy character has when it comes to their peers. So I especially enjoyed Sayonara Zetsubou Sensei, and who's like the depressive anime character way back when that was releasing. And I don't really see anime like that often, so it was a pleasant surprise to see that represented in this anime here, in Isekai of all places. Especially when Isekais are all about second opportunities and people having another chance to do something different. Which is honestly a concept where, if anything, it wouldn't be as depressive. Unless you're Subaru, of course, from ReZero. So I was really intrigued to see how a depressing character in an isekai setting would contrast with all the other characters who normally would expect a character to be happy at the second chances that they are given. And in the first episode, it was really amusing to see Sensei immediately try to off himself the moment he gets reincarnated. And judging from the first episode, I knew I was in for quite the ride. In general, I want to say that the overall tone of the series leans more into the comedy, well, the dark comedy side of things, especially from Sensei. I especially loved everyone's reactions to Sensei's depressive and suicidal tendencies. And I especially loved how the series tackles references to popular media. I say popular media, maybe like mainly Dragon Quest really. Because I especially loved Sensei's coffin bit where he gets dragged by his companions while he's just chilling, taking a nap in the coffin. Which definitely gave me Gintama vibes back when they used to do complete parodies of Dragon Quest. Seeing them use a coffin as a surfboard in one instance, that's the vibes that this anime gave me. Just like general Gintama shenanigans and antics. Because most of the time the anime isn't really depressing, I want to say. Despite the depressing character, it leans more into the comedy side of things. Which I really liked. And just like Gintama, it also had some moments of sadness when it came to Sensei analyzing other people's depression. Which I also enjoyed, because it's not all purely comedy in that sense. Now in terms as to what stood out for me in the overall world building of the show, I think the biggest thing is the aspect that loads of people get isekai'd into this world. And more often than not, the reason that they get isekai'd is because they led depressing lives before. So they're essentially given another chance to live in this world, following all the trauma they endured in their previous one. However, despite the fact that they are given a second chance, because of their trauma gets... I don't know the saying for it. I don't know what the moral term is for if someone suffered a lot and they're given power to better their life, but they use it to repeat what they suffered from to others. That's what this show kind of tackles in that sense. Yeah, I don't know the moral term for it. I'm not smart enough for that. But I quite liked it, seeing the fact that despite people suffering traumatic lives in their previous lives, only to repeat said trauma to others when they are given the second chance. I found that really intriguing, especially in the aspect of the world building. So these next thoughts I'm gonna have now, I'll go over. It's definitely gonna be going through spoiler territory, whether I say it accidentally or not. So if you haven't seen the show yet, I think you should really give it a try. I suppose just give it a watch. And for those that are staying, well, let's just go on to my next thoughts. So in general, I really love the fact that this anime reminded me of so many anime I've seen in the past. Honestly, we'll just do a bit of roll call and just go over why this anime reminded me of that specific anime. So first off, we got Tegami Bachi, or the English name, Letter B. I say Letter B because in that show, the main character has a special gun that if it shoots someone's heart, it allows that person to see a visual laydown of the life they led and how their actions treated others. And that helps them overcome the trauma that they're experiencing. Which is definitely a sense I got from this show here, when it came to Sensei writing stories for people and helping them come to terms with their trauma, coming to terms with understanding said trauma as well. So it reminded me of Tegami Bachi in that regard. So next anime that this anime reminded me of is Violet Evergarden, where, to sum up, it's basically a show about someone who helps write letters for people in a way that translates their true feelings into the letter. Which is definitely the vibes I got from this show as well, with, once again, Sensei learning about a person's trauma, and using his depressive experiences to help them go down a path that help them not walk down a path that he went on. So it reminded me of Violet Evergarden in that regard. Then I have The World God Only Knows, which is an anime about a pro dating sim gamer. I don't know how I'm going to explain this without sounding weird. It's basically an anime about a pro dating sim gamer who uses his skills to once again solve people's built-up issues. Or built-up romantic issues or whatever. Which is once again a similar vibe I got from Isekai Shikkaku here. Okay, so escaping from the therapist's antics now. The overall world of Isekai Shikkaku reminded me of Angel Beats in some cases. But I especially loved how in Angel Beats, all the characters is set in a world where troubled youths or traumatic youths are given another chance to live out their youth. Live out a youth that they never experienced. Which is a similar vibe I got from this show here, Isekai Shikkaku, where everyone who gets isekai to this world had led traumatic lives, and they are given another chance in this world here to live a better life that they couldn't. But unlike Angel Beats, it was nice to see characters squander the newfound chances at a better life for their own personal gain. So it's a bit of a contrast in that regard, despite the connections to Angel Beats. And I also liked how this anime reminded me of Kino's Journey in some cases. Though honestly, the main connection I have with Kino's Journey, the main connections I see with Kino's Journey and this anime here, is the fact that the sensei and everyone else travel between city to city and pretty much just solve their problems or solve whatever conflict they encounter. Because partway through the show, it stopped being more arc-based and more episodic in that sense, where every new episode is a new city they're exploring, or they're traveling to a new city or new area and solve their problems for that episode. I got similar vibes in that regard. It's a whole lot of fun, that. So yeah, that concludes all my thoughts in terms of the overall flashbacks this anime gave me to various anime I've seen in the past. I do apologize if I spoiled a lot of spoiled a lot of aspects from those anime I've mentioned, but hopefully you clicked far enough ahead to avoid said spoilers to get to this point. So the next thing I want to talk about is the main character, in which case it's Sensei. I especially love that he was a really depressing anime character, all things considered, in a comedy setting rather than a suffering setting. You don't really see depressed main characters these days. And even if we do, it's more in like a serious seinen setting as opposed as a play on comedy or dark comedy. Yeah, I enjoyed seeing a depressing character in this anime here, in a comedy setting. It was a whole lot of fun just to see all his friends react to his suicidal tendencies of downing a bunch of the Calmatine sedatives or finding a tree to hang from. I found it quite amusing. It definitely had Konosuba vibes when it came to the comedy. Yeah, especially like the quote-unquote fish out of water concept being played in this anime here. I especially loved how the enemies grew concerned for Sensei as well. I especially loved the moment when where the gang encountered a massive scorpion, or an adventurer who rides a massive scorpion, and he was all like, one sting from this scorpion will put you in agonizing pain for an hour, and then you'll die. Now, normally in situations like this, the main cast would be like, oh no, please no. But then you just have Sensei with a beaming smile on his face, just eager at the chance to die. I just found that moment really, really amusing from a depressing character. And then you just see him get stabbed anyway by the scorpion sting, but because of his innate abilities of being poisonous to enemies around him, the scorpion ends up dying. It's like that one Chuck Norris quote. It's just like that one Chuck Norris quote where he gets bit by a cobra, but after 7 days of agonizing pain, the cobra died. I especially love the running gags as well throughout the show. Especially seeing Sensei being dragged around in a coffin, and throughout the show you see various upgrades to it. At one point, he just finds a regular coffin in a garbage pit. Fairly standard. And then all of a sudden, he manages to solve some royal issues or whatever for a kingdom. And then you just see him upgrade to a more luxurious coffin. And then later on, he gets it further upgraded after encountering some dwarves with some of the most legendary craftsmen in the kingdom. And then you just see him in what is more or less a car at that point, a coffin on wheels, and uses it to great effect. So seeing the coffin gag slowly evolve to the point it becomes pivotal to the overall plot, I found that really fun to see. Instead of being a classic Zorojanai Katsuroda over and over again and its variations, it had some various plot points and effects on the overall world itself and the happenings and all the battles. I also liked his Palmatine sedative gag, where he just downs these medicine pills in the hopes of offing himself. It was nice to see that evolve into various plot points as well. Like the time he ran out of the sedatives, and then he manages to assist some spirit later down the line, in which case he is rewarded an infinite supply of them. And I especially loved the moment where he, well, spoiler alert, encounters his wife again, but at that point she wanted nothing to do with him because Sensei was a different person than the one she was with before the start of the show. And then later on you just see him try to consume the Palmatine sedatives, but because it was infinite, it just kept coming and coming. It just couldn't be consumed. Just seeing the Dragon Quest status text saying that Sensei is trying to consume the Palmatine sedatives, but it couldn't because there's infinite supply. And next thing I want to talk about is the overall comedy and supporting characters. I think my favorite supporting character in the show is definitely Annette, that priest that tags along with Sensei's journey. I especially loved her hilarious jealousy that she gets whenever Sensei interacts with other girls. Like the time Sensei brought in an old woman doing a princess carry of sorts. And then you just see Annette just bawling her eyes out. And then she smacks her head on the table and just outright says that there is no god, which is quite amusing for a priestess character. In general, I loved her overall exclamations. Like, despite being a priestess character, she doesn't hesitate to yell out and say that there is no gods whenever things don't go her way. Like the time in the prison where she is like grabbing the bars of prison with tears streaming down her face and just like begging God to save them from their predicament. And then after much exclamation, he just gives up and just states that there is no god. Speaking of those kinds of reactions to her situations, I especially enjoyed her voice actor and animation in that regard. Because it definitely gave me vibes of Aqua's exclamations to Kazuma's antics, or like the things Kazuma puts her through. And also that goddess character from Cautious Hero. And it gave me vibes from all those characters there, where they react to the character's so absurd tendencies. They're like an extreme straight character in that case, in that sense. In general, it's nice to see a goddess character react to the main character's absurd situations they put them through, or absurdities. Now, speaking of the main villains and antagonists from this show, I especially loved how the majority of the main enemies in this show are quote-unquote fallen isekai protagonists. There's a nice little spin on the trope where isekai protagonists are normally the heroes. But honestly, with all the isekai out there, more often than not, they are heroes. More often than not, they tend to be heroes. So seeing a show where that depicts them as villainous, or the main villains, is actually really refreshing to see. Though, despite the majority of the isekai protagonists in this show wind up being a little bit villainous, there are some characters who are still heroic, all things considered. Like when the cast encounter this gambling village, and they try to solve this issue where the constant gambling is causing the sacred tree to wither away. They encounter a textbook knight in shining armor there, which I thought was suspicious at the start of the episode, and I thought he was going to be like a twist villain of sorts. But surprisingly, by the end of it, he was actually kinda all about the justice. There was no secret villainy to it, which I found quite interesting because despite the cast succeeding in kicking out the gamblers from the village, the overall outcome of the situation wasn't something this quote-unquote hero wanted. And wondered if Sensei knew about what would happen all along. So it's nice to see like a regular hero react to the happenings in this show here. And speaking of regular heroes, I did quite like seeing how Sensei butted heads with these heroes while not fitting the typical hero mold. If anything, Sensei does look like someone who could have been a villain by overall design and his overall antics. But I don't recall Sensei actually doing anything because he was nice. If anything, most of his actions are fueled by his want to write a nice story. Yeah, those are all my thoughts on the overall villains and the antagonists from this show here. In terms of Sensei's power and strategy, I really liked how in this show Sensei wasn't inherently overpowered. Like, he's not blowing up mountains anytime soon, he's not defeating anyone in one hit anytime soon. Which I quite enjoyed for an isekai anime. I just liked how, despite him, as opposed to being overpowered, he was just a character who was like the perfect counter to the overpowered isekai villains, or the corrupted protagonists, who mainly solves problems through understanding people's hearts. In which case, it's nice to see an analytical character come out on top in an isekai setting. Someone who is quote-unquote smart. But I suppose with Sensei being a writer before, that helps him acts like a therapist for the people he faces. Speaking of that, I do want to say that I think Sensei is more like a therapist hero than a traditional hero, all things considered. Which is actually kinda different amongst all the other isekais out there. So speaking of overall themes of the show now, I especially love all the heartfelt moments when Sensei helps characters by reflecting or helping them reflect on their trauma. I can't remember the specific details or plot points. But I did like the aspect that Sensei, despite his main efforts for helping people, was to write a fascinating story. They all wind up... He winds up unintentionally helping them pass on and come to terms with their trauma from the past, from the previous lives. Which I thought was a pretty nice theme of the anime here. It definitely brought an Angel Beats light in that sense. Despite the heavy moments like that, though, I did like the comedy and the gags, as well as the emotional depth this anime explores. Because it seems most of the time the anime kinda... or the sensei at least jokes around about his depression throughout the show. Is never really like a negative for him. Honestly, I think the comedy would have hit different if Sensei was actually depressed or genuinely sad, but it seems like he's more into... it's represented more comedic, all things considered. And like his wife said in the show, it seemed like he was living a more colorful life now. Which I thought was really cool to at least mention in the show itself. Speaking of the comedy and depression, I did like how the show mixed the serious energy or serious therapy-like moments with the absurd humor. So it didn't feel like the show at any point ruined a moment in the pursuit of comedy. It allowed various aspects to really be fleshed out. It let things play out at their natural rate. Honestly, those are all my thoughts there for this anime here. I want to say that this show was actually a really, really fun ride, and I'm looking forward to Season 2 if it ever comes out. Which I am really hoping it does. It's nice to have a mix of nostalgia from this show in terms of reminding me of a load of anime I've seen in the past, like Konosuba, Violet Evergarden, Takami Bachi, Angel Beats, and whatnot. It's a nice take on a character who is overpowered by unorthodox means. Especially where the character's whole shtick is just being a storyteller for the world, rather than being the hero. And I just thought that was really cool to see play out throughout the show in general. Well, those are all my thoughts there for Isekai Shikkaku here. If you guys have any thoughts or just want to simply roast my opinions, be sure to leave them down in the comment section below. And if you guys enjoyed the video here, be sure to hit like and subscribe as per usual. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.